works. The userland exploit just needs to be finished, so we're just waiting for everything to be completed and for it to be turned into a full chain exploit with the poopsploit. And we will be able to jailbreak the PS4 up to 13.0 without a Blu-ray disc, just from the PlayStation View application. And once everything is said and done, we should be able to just restore a backup file onto the console that will then allow us to install the PlayStation View application, and we'll be able to launch it and use it to jailbreak the console. So that is a pretty nice development there, so we should be able to jailbreak up to 13.0 now on the PS4 once we have the full chain exploit implemented. Now, somewhat ironically, the Flow has recently come out and said that apparently the PS4 doesn't even need the dupe set call anyways for the poopsploit, because on PS4 you can either use FCNTL or IOCTL, can't remember which one, but apparently either one of those could be used in stand-in for the dupe syscall, which could then be used to allow the other userland exploits to trigger the poopsploits to jailbreak up to 13.0, like the Lua exploits or the RP exploits or the Netflix and hack. But generally, the PlayStation View application is probably going to be the best way to load the jailbreak once that is done, so it's probably just best to wait for that to come out so that we can use that to jailbreak the console, as it doesn't have the other downsides that a lot of the other userland exploits have. So that's the main development there for the PlayStation 4. Now for the PlayStation 5, there is so much great things happening at the moment, including, of course, the release of many PS5 game backups or game dumps that are now playable on the PS5, thanks to the APR issue being resolved. Now, this was an issue that goes back for many years at this point that was preventing so many PlayStation 5 games from being turned into usable backups, and that issue has now been fixed. So many of the PlayStation 5 games that previously could not be turned into working backups can now be turned into working backups, and they are. And we're seeing so many more game releases. Obviously, I can't link to any sites that these games are hosted on for obvious reasons. There's so many more games that have now been posted. For example, just recently we have Beat Saber. It's been posted, and there is some significance to that, as well as, of course, the Grand Theft Auto PlayStation 5 native version of GTA 5. That's been released along with Dead Space Remake and Astrobot, one of the last surviving, I guess, PlayStation exclusives, which is still a PlayStation exclusive and not available on PC, and that is Astrobot, which of course is now available as a PlayStation 5 game backup. But that's not all. There is all of these other games that have only just been posted over the past few days, so this is by far the most PlayStation 5 games that have ever been added all at once within just a few day period, since about Christmas Day till now. And there's probably plenty more games that will also be added over the next few days as well. So yeah, lots of stuff happening here. Lots more games being added for the PS5. Now, we also got a talk that was given by Tim Starr, or TIHM Starr, the opening Pandora's box and unleashing 1,000 paths on the journey to play Beat Saber custom songs. So this is part of the 329C3 conference, and this talk is available. I'll leave a link to it in the video description, which basically outlines Tim Starr's attempts at hacking the PlayStation 5 in order to play Beat Saber and get custom songs running on Beat Saber. That was the stated reason for trying to hack the PS5. This was, of course, before the latest kernel exploits for the PS5 that now allow us to play Beat Saber, which wasn't available on previous firmwares because it required a higher firmware to run. So he was trying to hack the PlayStation 5 by essentially hacking the platform security processor, trying to, hijack the boot process and be able to essentially hack the console that way. So the idea is that if we could get some kind of hardware level hack, we could have some kind of untethered exploit where the console is hacked on boot, and we wouldn't have to keep, running the exploit every time we reboot the console. That is the general idea. So there were some interesting things in this particular conference. Now, he was ultimately unsuccessful in creating a full-on hack, but there's definitely been a lot of progress made along the way. A lot of stuff has been documented, and there's also been certain releases as well that we'll go over here in this video. So instead of working on the console directly, he was using an AMD board that uses the same chip as the PS5, which we've seen before. These are the 4700Ss and 4800SS that use like the chips from the PlayStation on Xbox. Recycled chips that were not able to make the cut to be used in the actual console itself, so they repurpose them into, computer boards instead, and those can be good test cases for debugging to try and create some kind of hardware-level exploits that could then be transferable over to the PS5 console itself. So he was able to take advantage of a known fault injection attack that can be used on AMD CPUs for their secure encrypted virtualization using a smart voltage regulator, which can make the board glitch itself. Unfortunately, the board he was working with did not have the smart voltage regulator, so he had to use a regular voltage regulator that it has and modify that using a mod chip to turn it into a smart voltage regulator that he could then use to perform the glitch. And through this, he was able to successfully dump the boot ROM along with a bunch of keys, and he also found a vulnerability within the boot flow, but was not able to exploit it. Now, he also released a bunch of open source projects for this, including the ROM dumper that was used, the mod chip hardware, the schematics, as well as the mod chip firmware for actually trying to glitch the console itself, and also some X-ray pictures that were taken of the chip itself. So that has all been documented and posted online, so you guys can check that out. I'll leave the links for all of this stuff down in the video description, including the actual talk itself, so I definitely recommend checking it out. So it will be left linked down in the video description. So, however, the silver lining to this as well is that he was able to essentially get custom Beat Saber songs working on the PS5 by essentially just using the updated exploits that we already have now that allow us to actually run Beat Saber on a jailbroken console, because we can jailbreak up to 10.1, which can play Beat Saber, and he was then able to generate a custom song for Beat Saber, convert it to the right format for the PlayStation 5 version, and get it running with the PS5 version of Beat Saber, and you can actually get it running yourself. There is a YouTube video showing the custom song running on his channel, and I believe links have been shared to the custom song so that you can import it into your own version of Beat Saber and get it running. I would love to show it to you guys, but unfortunately, a VR headset is something I've just never invested in. I just don't have the space for VR, really. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to cover VR stuff, but maybe it's something I should consider in the future here, especially if we get more VR developments like this. Now, last but not least, there was something shown by AcuStretch that apparently comes from Sisto, relating to the PS5 rather than the PS4 here, which is this install app feature for installing your PlayStation 5 game backups when launching them from the homebrew launcher. So we can see here, we've got a game like Astrobot. AcuStretch goes ahead and selects the little 3-dot options, and then he has the ability to install app, and then it says that the application has been installed, and then it appears in the home menu like a normal application, and you can just select it. And it runs the application from there. Presumably, once it's installed, you can just launch it from the home menu in the future without having to go back into the homebrew launcher. So similar to the dump runner method that I showed in one of my previous news updates, so probably just an evolution of that same method there. There was also version 23 of the all-in-one BD jailbreak ISO from Victorious X, which has been released, which is for the 7.61 jailbreak, where you can jailbreak with a Blu-ray disc if you want to on the PS5. Then that's been updated to include the latest 2.5 build of ETA Hen, along with the latest WebServe payload and the latest version of Items Flow that can be installed from the disk. So that's also been included there as well with that previous exploit. So anyway, that's going to do it here for this update. So hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And once again, as always,